It's force of habit. So I can get started. So we have an avodah ahead of us. And I'd like to start off by reading out a halacha in Shulchan Aruch that you might not be familiar with. The Shulchan Aruch paskins in Siman Tov Kuf Nun Tes Sif Hey, and I quote verbatim: B'shas hakinnos osur l'saper davar. I say it because we are familiar with the idea not to talk in davening, not to talk in chazar sashatz. That's something we're familiar with. We're not making a bracha. We haven't made a bracha on the Kinnos. It's not a dover shebikdusha that requires a minyan. You can say Kinnos at home, alone also. You can participate in Zoom, as people are doing. And yet, very strong language the Shulchan Aruch uses. And it comes directly from Chazal in Maseches Sofrim, and the Ramban brings it also from Rishonim. This is Chazal. And therefore he paskins unequivocally. B'shas hakinnos osur l'saper davar v'lotzeis lachutz. Or to leave. Leaving is not an option, I'm sorry. Kedei shelo yifsik liboy min ha'eva. Why? Because I've got news for you. Until Chatzos, somebody said to me last year it was a bit long. Yeah, till Chatzos is long. But that's the halacha. The Ramah paskins in Tov Kuf Nun Tes u'ma'arichim im hakinnos ad ma'at koidem Chatzos. Kinnos are meant to stop a little bit before Chatzos. Chatzos is what, 1:10? I don't know if I'll hold out. I'll try. And says the Mishnah Berurah, what's the reason? Because you can't do anything. There is nothing in the world you are allowed to do unless it's pikuach nefesh. You can't cook, you can't clean, you can't answer emails, you can't go to work. There is no heta in halacha to do anything between now and Chatzos other than focus on the mitzvah, the avodah of the day. Indeed, the Mishnah Berurah even brings in Tov Kuf Nun Tes. He says, really, mashkimim kitzas. Really, Shacharis should have started early this morning. Ve'im al yedei zeh yigmaru loymar hakinnos zman harbe koidem Chatzos toiv sheloi lahashkim kol kach. Says the Mishnah Berurah, but if davening early means that you're going to finish well ahead of Chatzos, then it's not worth it. So that's to set the tone purely from a very basic halachic perspective. Now, we have an avodah. We have an avodah ahead of us, and it's an incredibly important avodah. And I want to spend the first part of this, which is really an introduction, to set the scene, and it will take a bit. It will take a little bit of time to explain what we are about to do and why and how it is so important. And we're going to start with the Novi Yeshaya in Perek Nun Beis, which is the Haftorah for Shoftim, the last one of the Shiva de Nechemta, which starts with Anochi, Anochi hu menachemchem. Yeshaya says the following important pasuk. Manovu tu psukim. Manovu al hehorim raglei mevaser mashmiya shalom mevaser toiv mashmiya Yeshua oimer letzion molach eloi hoyich. How pleasant will be the footsteps of the mevaser when there will be, whoever this mevaser is, he will come and mashmiya shalom. He will bring us good news. Mashmiya Yeshua, he'll tell us that of the salvation. And he will say to Tzion molach eloi hoyich. And then what will happen is the next pasuk, koil tzofayich. The way the Malbim explains There are lookouts. We have lookouts on the top of the mountains anticipating Moshiach. And then together, the tzofayich, those that look out, to be tzofer, it means to look at, they will nosu koil yachtov yiranenu. So the mavaser, the person that comes to tell us that Moshiach is coming, together with the lookouts, they will sing nosu koil yachtov yiranenu. They will lift up their voices and together they will sing Ki ayin ba'ayin yiru b'shuv Hashem tzion. With their own eyes. And there's more depth here, of course. Ayin ba'ayin. We've spoken about this on previous occasions. There's also a reference to an inner eye, an inner vision, the eye within the eye. Ayin ba'ayin yiru b'shuv Hashem tzion. That is the pasuk. But there's a problem here. There's a problem with the pasuk. And the problem with the pasuk is the grammar. And if you have a keen ear, you will have picked up the problem with the pasuk. Because what does it say? Koil tzofayich nos'u koil yachtov. They raised, it's in the past tense. It's in the past tense. They did raise their voice. But this is talking about an event that is going to take place in the future. And the Zohar HaKadosh asks this question. And it answers with the following chilling words. I don't have the exact quote here in front of me. I thought I'd brought it. I haven't. And he says, do you know who the tzofayich are? It is those people who anticipated, they were on the lookout for Moshiach. It's us. We are the tzofayich. We are the people that are on the lookout, anticipating Moshiach. And only those people who are the tzofayich, they will sing when Moshiach comes. They will experience it and they will sing. And the truth is, this is a Gemara. The Gemara says in Tanis, based on the Pasuk, Simchu es Yerushalayim v'gilu ba kol oihaveha sisu ito mosois kol hamisablim oleha. Be joyous together with Yerushalayim, all those who love it. And I want to actually stop and take a side detour for 2 minutes because I want to ask a question and I want to point out something which I think is incredibly important and is often missed. The vast majority of our tefillos and in Nach, the Nevi'im, when they daven for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, it is focused mainly on Yerushalayim. In fact, and maybe I'll come back to this later, I don't know whether you've realized this. There is only one place in our davening when we explicitly reference and ask for the Beis HaMikdash to be built, and that is an Musaf on Yom Tov. It's the only time. Everything else is focused on Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is the secret, it's the key. Let's go back to our pasuk here. Simchu es Yerushalayim v'gilu ba kol oihaveha. Those that love Yerushalayim will be happy with it, but only those kol hamisablim oleha, those who mourned for it. Mikan Omru, says the Gemara, kol hamisabel al Yerushalayim zoiche v'roya b'simchasa. Anybody who is misabel for Yerushalayim will merit to see the simcha. And the Mefarshim point out it's written in the present tense. There is an aspect of Yerushalayim which can be felt, which can be perceived even now, even in Golus. But v'she'ena misabel al Yerushalayim, If somebody does not mourn for Yerushalayim, einoi roye besimchasa, frightening words. And this is exactly in line with the Zohar HaKodesh that I just said before. The Gemara says furthermore over there, anybody who drinks wine or eats meat in the Seuda HaMafsekes, Olav HaKosav Omer, the Pasuk says, a Pasuk in Yechezkel, Vatahi avoinoisom al atzmosom. Their Aveira will be on their bones. And what this means, and this is the frightening thing if you're not aware of this, what this means, the way the Rishonim understand this Gemara, is that somebody who eats, who is so indifferent to Aveilus for Yerushalayim, it doesn't bother him, the Aveira will be on their bones, meaning they will not get up for Tchias HaMesim. And the Ritva, on the spot, asks the question. But not eating meat or drinking wine is a din in the Gemara, but it's d'Rabbanan. How can it be? How is it possible that somebody who transgresses an Issa d'Rabbanan, it's a bad thing? Of course, we should be sensitive to Yerushalayim, but with that you lose your right to Tchias HaMesim. And the Ritva answers, and I quote his words: Pirush she'ein la'atzmoisav tchia b'tchias hamesim ha'osid lihiyos bebinyan beis hamikdash la'oison shemeisu begolus v'chiku liyeshua. There will be a special tchias hamesim to enable those who waited, who are the tzofayich, who yearned, who hoped, who davened for Binyan Yerushalayim, they will get a special Tchias HaMesim so that they will be able to witness the rebuilding of Yerushalayim and of the Beis HaMikdash. She'aleim Omar HaKosuv Ashrei HaMechake V'yagia Liyomim, the Pasuk says in Daniel. Avol Adayan Efsher, and here this is the chilling words of the Ritva. Adayin efsher sheyesh lo tchia b'yom hadin shehu achar yemos haMashiach. It is possible that such a person who is totally indifferent to Churban and Yerushalayim, might be able to get Tchias HaMesim, the second Tchias HaMesim, the Tchias HaMesim which is after the Yemos HaMashiach, which is the Yom Hadin. Maybe. We see something over here that is shocking if we've never thought about it before. We have the Zohar, we have the Gemara, we have the Ritva. Those who are misabel on Yerushalayim, it is so central to who we are. It may be an Issa d'Rabbanan. It may be an Issa d'Rabbanan. But this is one of those things very clearly where this is not based on the strict technical severity of whether it's a Drabanan or a D'Oraisa. That's not the point. If you have a Leiv Ha'even, as we will talk about later, if somebody has a heart of stone and doesn't manage to do the avodah that we need to do in the next few hours, which is to connect and to identify the root of all suffering, all Jewish suffering, national, personal, communal, to connect it to Churban Yerushalayim, to the Churban of Golus of Shechina, then we are disconnected from our source, from our reality. And such a person, I don't want to finish the sentence, Chazal have done it for us. We only have a few hours every year where every other option is removed from us. Like I said before, you can't work, it's actually osur. There's nothing else you can do for the next few hours but sit on the ground and cry and think and reflect. Nothing else. So core so fundamental, so central is this to our being. As you know, when a person passes away, the first thing they are asked is a bunch of questions, a series of questions. Did you set aside fixed time to learn Torah? Did you conduct your business affairs with integrity? And one of the questions that we are asked is Tzipisa liyeshua. Tzipisa liyeshua. Did you anticipate? Did you yearn? Were you, listen to that word, tzipisa. Where have we heard that word? Koil tzoifayich nosu koil yachtov yiranenu. Somebody who is a tzoifer, somebody who lives with an eye to the future. Such a person that is a tzipisa liyeshua is connected to our destiny, to our core, to our reality. Rav Moshe Shapiro Zechon Livracha explained this Gemara in a very profound way. He asks the question, why are we quizzed, are we challenged when we pass away? Did you learn Torah? Did you conduct your business dealings with integrity? We have to give din v'cheshbon for every word we ever uttered, every action, every thought. What is special about these things? Why are these set aside? Why are these different? Why is it not all part of? We're anyway going to, when a person passes away, there is absolute accountability. There is din for everything. What makes these things unique? And in his unique way, if anybody ever heard him giving shir, you'd know the way that he said it. Depending on the crowd he was talking to, whether it was in Ivrit or in Yiddish. But the essence of what he's saying was, he said, all those other questions are about what did you do? And what did you not do? These few questions are questions of mi ata. Who are you? This is not about what you've done. There are some things that are so core, so central, so fundamental, that there are two types of Jew. Here we're trying to categorize you. Who are you? Are you a tzofayich? Are you somebody who lived your life with an eye, with tzipia liyeshua, achake eloi b'chol yom sheyavoi? That Mashiach was part of your vernacular, that Yerushalayim was on your mind. Tidbak l'shoini l'chiki im lo yezkerechi. If you are such a person, you go into a totally different category. You can get up for the early the Tchias HaMesim and see it. And that is decided as soon as you pass away. We define you. These are things that define you. And that is the opportunity and the challenge that faces us now. If we manage to summon up the inner sincerity, to focus and to think and to connect, and this is the pathway to connect all the tzoros over the millennia and connect them to Yerushalayim, to a lack of Shechina, to a lack of Beis Hamikdash, and shed an honest tear, then hopefully we can be included in those who are tzefayich. And we'll be able to answer Tzipisa Yeshua, yes. And we'll be Zoichet to Tchias HaMesim. That's what's at stake. It's no small matter. The Medrash says in Tehillim, I quote, Kol oisom alofim shenoflu b'milchama b'mei David. All those thousands of soldiers that died in the wars b'mei David, lo noflu elo al sheloitavu binyan beis hamikdash. They died because they didn't demand binyan beis hamikdash. They'd never had a Beis HaMikdash. These are David HaMelech's soldiers. They have not yet seen a Beis HaMikdash, but they didn't demand it. They had a Mishkan, but it's not enough. Says the Medrash, Kal V'chomer, Uma im elu shehaloi hoya Beis HaMikdash b'yameihem v'loi nechrav b'yameihem. They never experienced it. It hadn't even been built, never mind destroyed. And yet, it was expected of them to demand Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and they were punished for this. We who know, who've heard, who've learned what a Beis HaMikdash is, and we don't, mourn over it, al achas kama v'kama, all the more so. And the Medrash finishes off, and this is where I want to pick up and continue, because I want to share something I think that is incredible. Lefichach, says the Medrash, Hiskinu Chasidim Horishonim. Therefore, says the Medrash, the Chasidim Horishonim, that's a reference to the Anshe Knesset Agdola. They made a takona, Shiyu Yisrael Mispalalim Gimel Tfilos B'chol Yoim. Therefore, they made a takona that we should daven. That's why we daven. V'hiskinu boi on arachum barachmecha harabim hoshev shchinoscha letzion v'seder avodah Yerushalayim. And they made a bracha of Bnei Yerushalayim in davening and in Birchas Hamazon. Incredible. Tosfos Rabbeinu Peretz in Psachim says that Tisha B'Av specifically is a time la'afushay barachamim u'v'sachanunim. So this is the job, this is the avoid. And how do we do this? We have Kinnos, which we will start saying. If you have one in English, and the English makes more sense to you, then say it in English. There's certainly no mitzvah for it to be said in a language that you don't understand. In fact, I would say that it would be pretty much worthless, pointless. We'll say, we won't manage to say all of them, but we'll say as many kinnos as we can, and we'll explain some of them, and we'll try and continue the theme. The first one starts with the words, it's kinavov, starts with the word shavas. Shavas means, it says here in my English one, everything came to a standstill. Shavas is sudden. Think of Shavas as in HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the world for 6 days. He's creating, and then Shavas, Vayishav, Vayinofash, it just stops. And that's what happened with the Beis HaMikdash. And anybody who's experienced loss, real loss of any sort, will tell you that even if somebody's been not well and you may know at one level that they may not survive much longer, but when it actually happens, that moment is a moment when one's world is turned upside down, shavas. Everything stops. Let's say together, Shavas urumeni shimuni oivrai sechiu moi sesimuni bedrei chaverai sakoi so mishkan mischois devirai sakoi so v'huvlegu giboirai Sof kuchaf umoadu eivorai kesilo kol abirai noflo yireyenu betsul dechuyo eyini chik sol chazoin ben berechyo ad pile gilgol chavuyo Eini moileles bivonis nechuyo Oso v'nicham vayikro livechio v'nom Aleile ani boichio Al pnei fros nufzu chasideo Palge suv zochroke oru yisoidoiseho. Pachad chet shiloi tochaf soideho. Potsu chazire yaraye chasideho. Potsu mase yeryon lenideho. Peres otzion biyodeho. Al hartzi yoin. Sadu shoyne medonai. Sofu al rosh tzion zedoinai. Som subnoi vlamoid zedoinai. Zoid not sartoloi reil medonai. So akami bimei bendinai tzadiku adoinoi. Atokali michbad to me edi emuni. Keravto bo yelai vayachalimuni. Koros ilioish vegivoy noidheim zermuni. Koili lashmiya barov higrimuni. Kumi avoy ribo sederimuni. Koros ilmavay morimuni. Lo moru achapenu la tevach shomoru. Roi so ki chesanu roi rom komoru. Roi so ki amavachaz bibu yoch komoru. Rav to biadi chez kelin koim kemoy moru. Rei v'nach echidei mimigoy yomoru. Rei adoinoi ki tzar li meimai chomar moru. Ashivenu sisi shimal goitzeyoni. Shiv tom remois chatzei dailad kieni. Sipsei meshoire reid virdom muladiveni. Shomato zemoirois hafeichin detateini. Shochvu benodu chotzot lavrieni. Shomeu kineno chooni. Kitomechei chakto b'cheis oifanecho. Toshiv lohem gemuk oz chazois ponecho. Tidaiv litzalnoin yoyatzei al tzfunecho. Titein lahafei noisetzei v'ninecho. Tikro l'shakrom kois komus bepinecho. Tavoi chol rosom lefonecho. Tavoi el sor asher kilanu. Limvoi chamos becheimon nialonu. Ad lach lach bechovoi rigelonu. Zokeinu bachur ubsulo kevolonu. Roma benoam chokulonu. Zechayr Adonai mehoyolonu. I don't know how much you followed in that Kinnos, the theme, which seems to be referring mainly to Bayis Rishon. I think what we need to appreciate, which is difficult, is the glory and the majesty of Yerushalayim B'Tifarto. We have to understand what Yerushalayim meant. What did it look like? It was a place. The Gemara says there was a place where people who would make cheshbonos would sit outside Yerushalayim. Why would they sit outside Yerushalayim? Because sometimes if you go through your accounts and it doesn't look such a pretty picture, and how am I going to pay all the bills? And it wasn't an activity that would generate simcha. And therefore it was inappropriate to be done in Yerushalayim. And there was a special place where it was done, which was outside of Yerushalayim. Because Yerushalayim was Mosois Kol Haaretz. Yefei Noif Mosois Kol Haaretz. It was a place where you could go, anybody could go, and witness Asara Nisim. All of those 10 miracles had one theme. No decay, no rot, nothing would spoil, nothing went bad, nothing was less than perfect. That's what the theme of all of those 10 Nissim were. You would go and bring your Maisa Sheni, and you would, Leman Tilmad Liyira, the Pasuk says, you would see the Kohanim. You would see how life was lived in Yerushalayim, where this is the word Yerushalayim itself, it's a composite of Yira and Shalom, fear of Hashem. There was an awareness, is a better term. And there was Shalom. It was those two words together, what Avraham called it and what Shem called it. And at the time, we were the superpower of the world. And then things began to go bad. And here is where it becomes really, really difficult, because we managed to become degenerate to a point where we did not deserve that proximity, that closeness of Shechina, of the Ribbono Shel Olam, and we forced his hand. But it was such a strong reality that they couldn't accept. Nobody could accept. When Yirmiyah came and said, if you don't do teshuvah, he's going to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. They didn't believe him. You're scared, you're lowering morale. You're a traitor. They threw him in prison. And then, when the reality did hit, I know we have accounts and we're all familiar with the horrors of the Holocaust, but in a number of respects, whether it's in terms of numbers or in terms of, one doesn't compare, of course, Tzoros, but the atrocities that took place at the time of Bayis Rishon and the Bayis Sheni were horrendous. And we went in this short period of time from being so close to the Ribbono Shel Olam until we lost it all. And that is the tragedy. Let's go back a little bit to davening. I want to point out something to you about davening, about Shemona Esrei, and I think we'll begin to realize actually what a major focal point Yerushalayim and Mashiach and the Beis HaMikdash is in our davening. You make a simple cheshbon. In Shemona Esrei, you take away the first 3 brachas where we praise Hashem, and the last 3 where we take our leave from him. And then you have one other bracha, Shema Koilenu, which is a general bracha to hear our tefillas, and you're left with 6. Sorry, you're left with 12. The first 6, Das, Tshuva, Slicha, all our Tzoros, Refuah, and Parnasa are very clearly, they fit into a theme. These are the things Chazal call these middle brachas when we ask our tzrochim. We ask what we need. We ask for the things that we need. And these first 6 are things that we need in our day-to-day, in our physical, but mainly in our lives. I need to be healthy, I need parnasa. Hashem should help me do teshuvah, I need knowledge. And then we spend the next 6. This is the other part of what we need. And these other 6 are all with an eye to the future. Restore judgment and justice. Hashiva Sheftenu. Get rid of evil. V'lam al shinim. Restore the tzaddikim to their place. Build Yerushalayim and bring Mashiach. These are our needs. What Chazal are telling us, sometimes it's missed. These are the things that we need. Do we feel that we need them? This is the question we need to ask ourselves. Half of those brachas, which are the things that Chazal are telling us, these are the things we need. Well, do we feel that we need them? That's the question to ask ourselves today. I want to share with you a beautiful Radak. In Yeshaya, the Radak says an incredible thing. There is a pasuk in Yeshaya, Al Chomoisayich Yerushalayim Hifkadati Shomrim Kol Hayoim V'Chol Halayla Tomid Lo Yecheshu. Says the Rabbeinu Shalom, on your walls, Yerushalayim, I have put guards. On the Chomois Yerushalayim, on the walls of Yerushalayim, there are 24/7, there are guards. Hifkadati Shomrim, Kol Hayoim V'Chol Halayla, all day and all night. Did you know? What are they guarding? We've got walls. If you've got walls, what do you need guards for? But they're on the walls. On the walls of Yerushalayim, there are Shomrim all day and all night, Tomid Lo Yecheshu, and they are never quiet. They are never silent. Listen to the words of the Radak. I wrote them down. They're so beautiful. Says the Radak, Yesh lefaresh al kol Yisrael begolusam. Who are these Shomrim? We are these Shomrim. Klal Yisrael in Golus, Shehem Shomrim. The word Shomer has two meanings. Va'oviv Shomar es hadovar means to wait. Shehem Shomrim v'tsoifim tamid binyan Yerushalayim. Says the Radak, we are those Shomrim. I don't know whether you realize it. Every time we are davening Shemona Esra, we are standing, as it were, on the walls of Yerushalayim. And we're waiting. We are Hashem's Shomrim. Kol hayoim v'chol halayla. 24/7, even though we're not davening 24/7. I'll tell you what it means in a minute. Tomid lo yecheshu. Says the Radak, we are Shomrim v'tsoifim Tomid binyan Yerushalayim. Umazkirim boine Yerushalayim bayoim uvalayla. B'tfiloiseyem u'bebirchoiseyem. Because every day in Birchas Hamazon, and twice a day, 3 times a day in Tefillah, bayoim uvalayla, we're saying Lishuoscha kivinu kol hayoim. That word. And we daven b'nei Yerushalayim, we are Shomrim v'tsoifim tomid. We are the Shomrim. Says Yeshaya, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't worry. You'll be in Golus for a long time, but it's okay. Because I've left guards. That's our job. Each time we come to shul, you'd have a shacharis or a mincha or a mariv. Each time you say Birchas Hamazon, you don't realize it, but you are one of the shomrim of the Rabbeinu Shalom, and you are overlooking. You're guarding the Chomois of Yerushalayim. You're keeping its memory alive. We are tzoifim, and when we say that, we are the koil tzoifayich, mosu koil yachtov yiraneinu. As Hashem continues, Yeshaya continues, Al domi lochem, don't be quiet. Lo yihye, says the Radak, lo yihye lochem domi ushtika. Ispalalu lefonov tomid. Don't stop, don't be quiet. This is our job in Golus. This is what we're doing. We don't realize the significance. And at the same time, we are ensuring that after L'Achamer Esrim, when we are asked, Tzipisa li Yeshua, we'll be able to say yes. Because 3 times a day I stopped for a second and I said, Lishuosecho kivinu kol hayoim. Lo yecheshu al domi lochem. When we do that, we give Klal Yisrael its voice. The koil seifayich. And we become a different person. We are connected then to our beating, pulsating heart, which is Yerushalayim. The Yerushalayim Shel Ma'ala, which is located opposite Yerushalayim Shel Mata. That's something that we can still, that is there, it is a reality, and to the extent that we keep it, we acknowledge its existence. And that's an avodah we're meant to do every day, 3 times a day, but specifically today. I want to tell you a vort from the Telzer, Rosh Yeshiva, Reb Avram Yitzchok, Bloch, Hashem Yinkom Domoy. His Talmud, Reb Motel Gifter, the Telzer Rosh Yeshiva, used to say this over. But now that I've mentioned him, we should mention, it's appropriate. Today is a day when we can mention the eyewitness testimony that we have from his daughter, Rebbetzin Chana Osband, on Chof Tammuz Tovshin Aleph, 1941. He was the Rav and Rosh Yeshiva in Telz. And they'd been taken out to work in the forest for a few weeks already, and he sensed the end was near. And indeed, the Nazis, Yimach Shemam, came and made them all, the whole town of Telz and the yeshiva, dig their own graves. And he asked, they came early in the morning, and he asked them for 2 things. He asked the commandant for 2 things. He said, I want to give a shiur. And with the dignity that is the atzilus and the dignity that is Telz, if you know what I mean by this, the nobility, with calm, he didn't shout. He gave them a shiur on Kiddush Hashem. And then they went and lay down in their graves, and he asked then, could I please have some water? Wash our hands and Netilas Yadayim before we are shot. And they gave them water. And even though he had a visa, he could have gone to Russia. He stayed with his kehillah, he stayed with the yeshiva. And he told his Talmud, whose then would become the great Gaon, Reb Motel Gifter, tells the Rosh Yeshiva after him, he told him as follows. Tisha B'Av, as we know, is a moyed. Kora olai moyed. It's a moyed. And that's why we don't say Tachanun. And it's usually understood because Tisha B'Av is the day that Mashiach will be born, as the Yerushalmi says, whatever that means exactly. And there are many different ways of understanding this. But he said a different pshat. He said the word moyed, uviyoim simchaschem, uvemoyadechem. A moyed is a fixed, it's a termin, and treffen, it's a meeting point. In English, we say it's an encounter. We encounter HaKadosh Baruch Hu usually with our Moyadim, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. We would all go up, Yerol. We would all go up and be in Hashem's presence. V'noyadati l'chasham. That word means to connect and to be together with Hashem. Said the tells of Rosh Hashiva, sometimes, usually we connect to Hashem through Simcha. And there is one day a year where we have the same, and indeed one can argue a deeper connection, an encounter with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is on Tisha B'Av. It's a moyed not because of the future. Not because of the future, but because of today, because of now. This is a different type of encounter. The Gemara says in Yuma, those of you that did Daf Yomi will have learnt it not long ago, B'shah shenichnesu nochrim leheichol ra'u keruvim me'urim zeh bozeh. When the oppressors entered the Beis Hamikdash, they saw the keruvim and they were embracing each other. But we know, asks the Rimi Gash in Shitta Mekubetzes and Bava Basra, but we know that when Pneim Ish El Ochiv, when they faced each other, when they embraced each other, when we were doing Oisim Ritzoyne Shel Makom, when we were doing what Hashem wanted us to do, and when we didn't, the Kruvim faced the opposite way. How can it be that at the moment of Churban, the Kruvim were embracing each other? Says the Rimi Gash, they were saying, Ru'u chibaschem lifnei hamokoim kechibas zochar unekeva. Look how beloved you are to the Rabbeinu Shalom. He will take out his anger on his own Beis Hamikdash so as not to destroy you. He will take it upon himself. He will banish himself from his own house. He will allow you to kick him out of his own house because he loves you and he wants to maintain that relationship. It occurred to me, I thought about this yesterday. The Gemara says in Yuma, that same Gemara, the Gemara says that when we went Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot to the Beis Hamikdash, listen to this, B'shah shayu oilin l'regel, megalilin lohem es haporoiches, umarin lohem es hakruvim shayu meurin zeh bozeh. When we went up to the Beis Hamikdash for Pesach, for Shavuos, and Sukkot, they would do something, the Koyanim would do something incredible. They would pull aside the paroiches, says the Gemara. What is a paroiches? A paroiches is something that is mavdil. It divides, it separates between the Kodesh and the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Do you know what the Kodesh HaKadoshim looked like? The answer is yes, we did know. Because 3 times a year, the Koyanim would pull back that paroiches. And we would see, says the Gemara, Kruvim, Ma'urim Ze'im Zeh. We would see the Kruvim embracing each other on Pesach, on Shavuos, on Sukkot. When we came to the Rabbeinu Shalom's house, we, his Kinderlech, we came to his house, and he wanted to show us how much he loved having us in his house. And so the Kohanim would pull back the pareches and we would all be able to see straight into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And we would see the Keruvim embracing each other, symbolic of love and the closeness that we have with the Rabbeinu Shalom. I think if we take Rav Bloch's vote one stage further, today we've also rolled back the pareches. On Tisha B'Av, we also roll away the pareches. That can't be a coincidence. And this is a day when we are told the Keruvim were also embracing each other. So at one level, we're sitting